quite sure that I'm on my way to hell. That's just knowing I believe maybe I will find some peace.
Well, hello, and welcome to our PPI Friday Live. I am Jen Alvi, president of PPI, and I have with me
Carly Moon Warnick.
And we're super excited to be here with you today.
A little nervous.
Yeah, we've got Bob Ryder, who's typically on here, and he is going to be doing all the tech and helping us out with the slides and all the fun stuff. But we are super excited to talk about this topic today, and I'm so honored to have Carly with me. We've talked a little bit. She came to our convention this year. Tell a little bit of backstory about where you're from and what you like to shoot, because I know not everybody knows Carly, and we want to get to know you first. So.
All right, guys. Well, like I said, I'm Carly, and originally I'm from Kansas. I've kind of bounced around the States for a few years, and after we did that, my husband and I moved to England for 6 years, and he's active duty Air Force. And so we spent 6 years there where I really built my business and learned a lot of things about running a business and being a photographer, and now we're back here in Idaho, and I absolutely love it. So, and I found the group PPI, and it's been kind of a level up thing for me. So, huge difference.
Now, maybe I might have missed it, but how many years have you been shooting altogether?
I've had Carly Moon Images for 11 years now.
Okay.
But I started really when I was, it's been about half my life. So about 16, 17 years now.
Okay. Sweet. This helps us all understand where we're coming from. I've been doing photography for about 12 years now, and I want to say one of the biggest reasons why I struggled going into this professional realm of PPI and the community of networking with other professionals was a lot about fear and judgment, which is the topic we are having today. And I know it takes a lot of courage to be on camera, and we ourselves are dealing with fear and judgment, so bear with us. We haven't done a lot of this kind of thing. But I think it speaks to a lot of people who join photography or start photography because they love the passion of creating, and there's a lot of reasons why you might love photography. It may not all be for people, maybe landscapes or whatever, but it is a visual medium in which we're creating something, right? And if you want to make any money from it, or even if you don't, we definitely have to face the whole topic of judgment and that fear, and not just fear of judgment, but fear of a number of things that deal with professionalism and becoming a photographer. So we want to talk about a lot of those things. But first, I do want to do a few announcements because I almost forgot that. We want to announce, if you didn't know already, PPI is having our fall retreat, which happens once a year, typically in another location where we get to relax and enjoy our beautiful state or some other location. This year is going to be September 24th through the 26th in Teutonia, Idaho, right next to Driggs. So we're excited about that. You can register on our website. And in case you didn't know, if you are not a member of PPI and you join or you register, it includes 1 year of membership for half price. So that is included in your registration. So totally awesome.
I got to tell you, Carrie Grant's on board.
Oh, good. Hi,
She
Carrie.
says, hi guys, you both rock. No judgment.
Thanks, Carrie. Yeah, it could have been you on here too, Carrie. You were on the list, so you know. glad you could say hi. I wanted to add that we now are excited to announce we have a schedule up, and we will be emailing this out and posting it very shortly, but you get it live here first. And on there's a few additions that were not addressed at the very first announcement of our fall retreat, and I'm excited to say we've added 3 other photographers to teach. We have Josh Packer, who's going to be instructing one of our, or at least leading one of our nature or landscape classes. We have Jamia Carroll, who is going to be talking about SEO. I love learning about business of photography, and I'm really excited to hear from Mia. And then I'm going to probably not say his name correctly, but for our video, is it Juan? Yen. I knew it. I was going to say it wrong. Yen, who will be teaching that. And then the other things we added is 2 of the meals we are covering as PPI. Initially it was going to be food all on your own, but we are going to do an awesome barbecue and social coming in Friday evening. And then as well, Saturday morning, we'll be providing a breakfast. And so that will be helpful to eliminate having to go into Driggs or handle the food in the small town of Teutonia. Excited. So you need to join us. If you haven't already registered, please do. Okay, I think, and one more thing I'll say for announcements, and then we'll get into the topic. Today is Friday, and it's the first Friday of the month. You know what that means?
Pizza.
Pizza! Yeah, we're excited. Come to Idaho Mountain Pizza Company. No, Idaho Pizza Company. I do this every time. Rocky Mountain and Idaho Pizza Company are similar.
Smoky Mountain.
Yeah, Smoky Mountain. See? So you know, it's Idaho Pizza Company. It's on Fairview. Great deal there. But everyone, please come out, whether you're a member or not. We really love to get to know you, and you can come ask your questions and hang out with us. So, okay, the topic.
Yes.
I would love for everyone out there who's watching at any time, please put in all of the things that you consider that you fear about being a photographer, or that you deal with when it comes to judgment or fear. Because there's a lot of, I think it overarches a lot of things.
Yeah.
But for me, and I actually want to hear from you, Carly, what would you say are the biggest challenges, or what are your fears when it comes to especially rubbing shoulders with other professionals and building that community, what we try to do at PPI? What would you say that is?
The hardest thing for me to get over is the imposter syndrome. Because, you know, you can go for weeks and months and years and think, I finally got it. Like, you finally start to get confident and feel like you've got it. And then once you start to kind of rub elbows, like you said, with other professionals, it's intimidating because everybody has a different skill set. Everybody has things that they excel in more than others. And so it's always kind of like, it comes down to a constant comparison. And I think that's the hardest thing for me to get out of my head about. And I've done better about it lately. And I really try to focus on my strengths and where I can contribute and everything like that. And PPI is such a great organization for that because everybody's super helpful. I mean, I walked in April to the convention, middle of the day while everybody's having lunch, and Bob forced me to go make friends with everybody because
Forced you.
you literally did, yeah. So, because I'm an introvert, and it's a hard thing to run a business or create a business when you're an introvert, because it's not natural for us to, want to put ourselves out there and try to like be the life of the party and steal the spotlight or anything like that, and really help ourselves become known. But PPI was great because I walked in and I was kind of pushed off the deep end, which thank you for that. And immediately everybody was super supportive and super successful, and there was no judgment. There was no, well, how good are you, or are you worthy of being here? It was just full on acceptance, and it felt like I had instant friends, which was really great. So that was huge for me.
Yeah. I don't know if you put this slide up yet, Bob, but number 1 slide says 70% of photographers don't feel qualified or professional enough. This is coming from David Trust, who is our PPA CEO, and this is a survey that they took, and 70% is a lot. So that tells you even photographers that you would look at thinking that they know it all, they don't, and they don't, at least they don't feel like it. And one of the things that drew me into photography is it is a lifelong pursuit. There's never a time when you really arrive that you can say you're professional. It's a sliding scale. You're always growing, you're always learning. So I think this is a lot of a mindset that we have that somehow we can't. And along with that, I think sometimes people have this scarcity that they can't share. And that's where we get the community over competition or competition over community issue, right? And so you may feel like, I need to figure out everything out of photography, and I need to do it all by myself because I can't share. What if I give you some information and you succeed? Oh no! There's not enough See, this is I think one of the myths is there's not enough clients out there. And the beautiful thing about photography is you could take one family or one person, and how many opportunities in their lifetime are they going to need photography? I mean, you have your family, you have business, you have all different kinds of events, even for one person going through the stages of their life. And I'm just thinking, other occupations, do we really look at it and say, oh no, there's too many doctors. Oh no, you shouldn't be a doctor. You shouldn't be a teacher. You should, there's just, everybody can use that. And even in one community, I just think there's just room for everybody and the more we share information, the more we help elevate that industry as a whole, which makes it so when you succeed, Carly, it's going to be easier for me to succeed. Because I don't have, let's say, I don't do boudoir, and you do. So when I have clients that come to me that are looking for that service, I now know who to send them to. And if there's something that you don't do, you can send them to me or whatever. I mean, we can just, but at the very least, if my client goes to Carly and they have a professional level experience, then when they come to me, they've already had this expectation of what they would expect to pay and what services could be available to them. And we can just kind of help safeguard that whole experience for both the customer or client and for us as photographers. So.
I have a couple of comments for you.
Yes, please do.
Carrie Grant says her fear, I think she's saying her fear is my clients are going to hate their images.
That's a legitimate fear. I totally get that.
And Laquita is here also, and she says, yes, being an introvert makes it hard, especially if we are not confident and we have trouble getting enough time to learn if you have to work another job while learning. And I think that represents a pretty large cross-section of our people who are working and working.
Yes. Yeah, there's definitely that work-life balance, and as you're putting yourself, just like when somebody goes to college, right? They have to pay the bills and go to work, and they are learning, and kind of balancing all that is challenging. But yes, that's what I love about building a community of education, because if you are concerned that your clients may not like your work, or can I do this right, and I even hesitate to use the word right, because that's the other thing about photography. Yeah. There's so many ways to do something, and there's not necessarily a right way to do it. And every generation, as you come through the world, you're going to have new ways of doing things in a different way, and different is great. Creativity, it's all about being different. Right?
And that's how the industry changes too, and it progresses and really, moves forward. And we're not just all copying everybody's ideas or sticking to the same, you have to do this. We can kind of be creative and think outside the box.
That's right. So. I love it. So going back to when I first was considering joining PPI, I remember a few other key photographers in our group that had been my mentors. One was Phil White, and the other was, okay, I'm horrible at blanking names, but anyway, he was one of them that they kind of pulled me aside, and Tiffany Hicks one too, but they would pull me aside and they would say, look, you need to be charging more, or you need to join us, like you would benefit from being a part of us. And I think for me, one of my fears, and let me know if this resonates with you, and this was probably about 7 years ago. I'd been a photographer about 5 years, so I kind of was getting to a place where I think I kind of maxed out and learning on my own. I know there's the internet. I know you can always like reach out in that way, but I kind of was like, yeah, I got my friends and family that like say I'm awesome, but I know that there's room for more learning, right? And that people just surrounding you saying you're awesome doesn't really help you grow.
Right.
And so they were encouraging me to join, and my fear was I kind of enjoy ignorance a little bit because I'm not responsible for information. If I don't know I'm doing it wrong, or maybe there's a better way to do it, then I can just kind of do whatever I want, and there's not that, I don't know, angstiness of like I should do it a different way, or I'm now seeing my work through a different eyes and I'm not really happy with it, which requires me to be uncomfortable or grow or accept critiques.
Right.
But what's the opposite of not knowing better?
And then you never grow too if you don't fail.
Do you ever look back at your older work, your earlier work, and you see your growth?
Oh yeah, there's some.
Yeah, I mean, it can be a little painful. It can be a little embarrassing. Think, I put that out there in the world, and at the time, I thought it was amazing. Mm-hmm. And that's okay. That's part of growing, right?
Yeah. And
then if you enter image competition, you are literally putting yourself out there for critiques.
Yeah.
And you literally are being judged. That is part of it, right? That is the fear of judgment, because you literally are saying, okay, judge me, judge. That's the whole point of it, right? But the flip side of that is now you have information in which you can build and grow and improve and build confidence. I would say
we call that failing forward.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, so the second slide I will say is failure is not the opposite of success. It's a part of success. This is something that I've learned in both my photography business and the other business that I run with my husband. When things don't go well, say you do get that client, Carrie, that was not happy with your work, that's kind of hard, right? But then you have something to learn, and maybe they're not your ideal client, maybe it was a mismatch, but either way, as you learn what it is that you can improve on, then that was only going to help you have a stepping stone to the next level of success.
Yeah.
What do you think about that? I'm doing a lot of talking here.
Well, I mean, even in life too, if you're not failing, or when you do fail, it kind of helps you grow. I mean, I totally blanked on what I was just going to say. But you have to fail because it's a part of growing. Because if you just have a smooth road the whole time, then there's no opportunity for growth, and you're never going to get better, and you're going to live in this possible world of like false security. Right. But when you get a chance to fail, and I mean, that's part of the story too. That's part of your story that you get to tell, and it helps you help other people too, other photographers. So if I see other photographers saying this is what's happening, I don't know how to do this, I don't know how to handle this particular client, then I can say, okay, here's what I would say, here's what's happened to me, and that sort of thing, and it helps. So it's all learning experience at the end of the day. It's never really failure, it's just a learning experience.
Right.
And then you choose, and your success is based off of how you adapt to that, really.
I really love what you said there about helping other people, because PPI is not only about what you can get, but what opportunities you have to give as well. I think it's very satisfying to lift another and say, this was my experience, and maybe that could help you not have such a thorny path on learning and growing. For me, going to like convention or to fall retreat, even if you're at a skill level where you're like, I'm probably not going to learn a ton of new things, there might be either a little nugget that you get that you're like, that's because most of what we do when we're teaching is just saying how we do it, right? Because again, there's no really one right way to do everything. I mean, look at Photoshop. How many ways can you do one end result?
Yeah.
A gazillion ways. And it's the same with your gear, with lighting, posing. there's some rules of thumb that can help you, but ultimately you might want to learn, well, how does Carly do it? Which, by the way, Carly, why don't you talk about what you're going to be teaching at Fall Retreat?
So I am going to be teaching for the first time ever, so buckle up, guys. It's going to be outdoor boudoir. And so it's going to go over we'll do some posing and everything like that and walk through, we'll have models and I'll demonstrate all of that. But I'll also have other things to consider when you're shooting outside. Bob's going to be our model. Are you our model? Are you volunteering?
Boudoir, no.
Boudoir, is it?
Nobody wants to see that.
Well, so yeah, I'll be going over things to consider when you're shooting out in public, in nature, and everything like that. So it'll be a whole thing, and I'm really excited about it.
Yeah, I'm really excited about it too. I'm excited to learn from other people, and like I say, I think that just listening to what other people do is really so valuable in elevating, and then you can decide in your own filter of my business and where I want to go, what applies to me, what can I take from it. I think when I learn things that is not my typical genre, like astrophotography that we're going to have, I don't remember all the topics, but some of those things I don't typically shoot for pay, but it allows me opportunity to play and to think outside of what I normally do, and then I can apply certain key things to what I do.
Yeah.
And so definitely a plus. Okay, I would like to talk a little bit about, so we talked about fear of judgment, and that's definitely something that we all feel. We all want to feel loved and accepted and admired and appreciated and all those positive, warm, fuzzy feelings. So we tend to sometimes want to play small or not go in the spotlight or not come out and rub shoulders with other people, especially if there's a lot of things we fear. We fear failure, but we also can fear success too, which I think it sounds like the flip side of it, but it kind of is somewhat the same in the sense of fear. And so I'd like to look at slide number 3, which is we are not really afraid of the success itself, but all the side effects that come along with it. So I want everyone to kind of do a little self-reflecting right now and think about in times in your life, you I'm sure have all had experiences, even when you're a kid or something, when you have had fear of failure, and as you succeed, as you continue to progress, and maybe you hit a certain benchmark of success in your business or in life, sometimes it can have, are you guys afraid of heights?
No.
I am. Okay.
I have no fear.
That is awesome.
No.
I wish I didn't. I have a little bit of a fear of heights, and even depth. So if I'm in the ocean and I see way down deep, that can be a little intimidating to me. Or if I'm up on a cliff looking down, that can be a little scary. So sometimes people might resist wanting to succeed and pushing themselves for that fear of okay, now if I don't maintain this level, I have a longer way to fall.
Yeah. So
that's I think one aspect. And throw out there, guys, if you think of some other things that can be intimidating about succeeding. Sometimes we fear that we're not good enough, right? That can come in form of perfectionism. Have you ever experienced perfectionism? Oh, you have a comment?
Carrie has commented, and this was a little bit ago. I didn't want to interrupt. It is fear, but thankfully it hasn't happened yet. Just shows that we are often our own worst critics.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes.
100%.
I believe our brains are, they're made to protect us, right? And we have these fight and flight responses. We have things that our brains will we assume the worst, and we certainly are most sensitive to criticizing ourselves the most in an effort to protect ourselves, right? So we can avoid somebody else actually feeling that way about us or threatening our social standing and keeping us safe. But
well, and even that, as a boudoir photographer, it comes down to self-confidence, and that can also be applied to photography as well in running a business.
Yeah.
Because we're always the first to see our own flaws that other people probably don't see. And so we're gonna pick up on things, and I think it's more of a self-protection mechanism and a self-preservation type of thing. If we catch it first, and if we judge ourselves first, then somebody else might not. Or that sort of thing. And it's the same thing with photography too. And if we catch our own mistakes, or if we downgrade ourselves enough, then somebody else might not do it, or that's what we think, at least.
That's what we think. But
Laquita
yeah,
says that her anxiety holds her back often. She's been working on it, but feels like she's not winning.
I'm sorry, Laquita, that is hard, and I know what that feels like for sure. I want to say, what you were saying, sometimes if we if we are harsh on ourselves, or maybe we come from a place of worry and intensity, we think that that's actually going, like you say, protect us or make it safer or better. But ultimately, we are already dealing then with the results of our fears. We're treating ourselves as if this has already happened, and that is like, now you're guaranteeing the same thing that you were afraid of.
Yep.
Because you're like leaning into that, and that's the energy you're coming from. And I think our world needs each of us individually to give what we have, and to not hold back. Because what is it that we're not getting from Laquita or from Carrie or from anybody else out there if you're hiding and playing small? Like, what are we missing out on? What amazing thing are you going to make? Even if you don't think it's amazing now, they're all stepping stones. Just like that failure is stepping stones to success. And if you hold back, what is it that you could be creating 5, 10 years, 20 years from now that the world can't get from you if you keep your fears keeping you back?
Yeah.
I don't know if I said that well enough, but I'm just saying passionately, we love all of our photographers out there, and we want our industry to continue to flourish and grow, and not keep us from coming out and learning more and succeeding. Let's see, how are we doing on time? Okay, I want to make sure I hit a few points there at the end, but let's delve a little bit more into the fear of, okay, we talked about not being good enough, perfectionism. So perfectionism, I think, is we don't need to go too deep into that, but I think if we are that idea, it has to be perfect. Well, you never get it done if all you have is this high standard. What's the saying? It's better to get it done than to be perfect, right? But it's all about self-judgment. Perfectionism is that you feel like you're somehow not good enough. So I think if you can get over that and have that self-love, then it's a lot easier to not let perfectionism keep you from at least trying. Mm-hmm. Think about the creative process. If you are like a true artist, and let's say you've got your tools and you're trying to create things, you kind of not focus too much on whether what you're making is right or wrong, because creativity explores new ideas and there's no boundaries. So if we're all focused on what this little inside the box thing, you're not going to be creative. So
yeah.
Can we come back to being afraid of success?
Yes.
So I'm going to put that slide up.
Okay.
In a minute.
The side effects. The side effects
There's
one?
That. The side effects one, Sam Marvin is watching today.
Hey, Sam.
Hi, Sam.
Or his team, or Jamia, or somebody
in the
in the Sam Marvin studio contributed upper limiting problems.
Yes.
Unbelievable. Read in the book, The Big Leap.
Thank you, Sam, and Sam's team. I got that book referenced, I think, from them, and I read it, and then I had my husband read it. It's huge.
I haven't started it yet.
It is really, really, and yes, and you know what? Self-sabotage was one thing I was going to talk about, which is what we do when we upper limit ourselves, which that book talks about as well. So thank you for the plug for that book. That is a really good one. Sometimes we don't feel worthy of success. I know sometimes that imposter syndrome, like you say. Yeah. I had an experience, being part of PPI has allowed me opportunities to grow in a lot of ways. You can get accreditation. You can get your IFP, which is Idaho Fellow Photographer, photography. I know I was going to say that wrong. I am not good with words, guys.
Are you talking in cursive now too?
When the camera's
yeah. So you can get some of these accomplishments, and it's really great. It helps build your confidence and can help your clientele see that you are working towards accreditation in your industry. Anyway, one of the things I did not expect to happen at all, my very first image that through PPA got a loan status, which if you enter image competition, you can get a merit for your image. But if it goes to nationals, then you get the second merit that's considered loan or image excellence now. My very first loan image in 2018 actually was selected to be one of the images to represent the U.S. in the World Photographic Cup.
Oh, that's amazing. That's a big deal,
okay.
Guys.
Talk about imposter syndrome and feeling really, really uncomfortable being in that spotlight. That was where my fear of success, those that were around me, what's wrong with you? Because I was not handling it very well. And when imaging came around, we were to get on stage, and we wear the jacket. It's like a USA Olympic type jacket, and we're at the group. And I had a great supportive group from PPI there. They were all very sweet about it. But it was really hard for me to walk on stage and be in that spotlight when I feel like, gosh, if you saw my image before I edited it, it was horrible. Like, if you knew, like, all these things that went through my head, it didn't deserve it. It didn't really fit the category. Why in the world? So there's a lot of things that can, whether it's upper limiting or sometimes it's being comfortable with the people around you, saying, "Are you okay with that? Do you think now I think I'm all that?" So that's part of the fear of success as well. Have you ever experienced that kind of thing?
Raising my prices was huge.
Let's talk about raising prices just briefly, because I think that is huge for a lot of us. That fear of raising your prices and having the confidence in doing it,
and sticking with it too, because there's been times when, okay, so backstory. Military wife, my husband's Air Force, we went overseas. It's a whole different monster trying to be a military photographer or open a business at all as a military spouse, because we have zero support. There's no resources for us really, and we kind of are forced to learn on our own as we go. And community over competition is getting better, but it was kind of rough. So yeah, overseas in England, I was cheap. I was a volume photographer. I was doing anywhere from 300 to 500 sessions a year. I shot mini sessions and full sessions. Oh yeah, I didn't know balance either, which was the other problem, which is a whole different thing.
Yeah, there's a lot of topics we could talk about.
So many topics. Oh my gosh. But yeah, so I mean, I was cheap, and because my overhead was low, it was okay. And I had photographers come to me and say, "You need to raise your prices. You're not going to be profitable." Well, at the time I was in that particular market, I could have been, but also I wasn't valuing my time. It was putting a massive strain on our marriage, on like friendships, everything like that, because I was just like, so I need to work, I need to be on, like, clocked in 24/7.
That's a lot of work.
I mean, I wasn't sleeping. I would wake up in the middle of the night with ideas and write notes to myself in my phone, and it was just, I couldn't turn it off. And so that was part of being cheap, though. I wanted to be constantly booked, constantly busy, and I thought that's what I needed to do in order to do that. Well, and then moving here, it is a lot more expensive to run a business in the States, especially in Boise right now.
Yeah, and you have a studio downtown Boise, which is prime real estate.
Yeah, which is also not cheap. So my overhead, it quadrupled, I think, if not more, fivefold or so when we came back. So I had no choice, because at the end of the day, I wanted to be sustainable. And as, you know, sustainable professional photographer, and this is my career. It wasn't a hobby, it wasn't anything. This is what I want to do for the rest of my life. And so that was kind of the mental switch I had to flip in order to almost justify raising my prices. Mm-hmm. And you know, I wanted to be up there, and I know that I've put the work and the years into education and the experience, having shot so many sessions, but it was still terrifying doing it, because I knew I could stay cheap and book sessions and not have a balance, you know, have to work myself into the ground. Whereas now I am priced.
I'm trying to keep my mouth shut over here. It's so good.
Bob is miming over here.
He's really excited. But yeah, so now I'm priced more sustainably. It's terrifying because it's high. I'm not cheap anymore, and that's a massive thing I still kind of battle with. Mm-hmm. But it's also, the longer you do it, the more you stick with it. It's kind of easier to be like, you know, I deserve this. I've worked my tail off to get to this position in life, and I really deserve it now. Mm-hmm. And I think that's the hardest thing for other photographers, especially when you're coming up the way that, like, I come up, and some of the other spouses that start their photography business and everything like that, they don't think they're worthy of charging as much.
I know. It's a mental battle, really.
Yeah.
You have to think too about your opportunity costs. The time, like you say, you were spending so much time away from your family. What is that worth to you, right? Is it worth $50 to spend hours and hours? Like, you have to think about that. Yeah. I too started without not very much overhead. You know, it was out of my home, or it wasn't even in my home. It was on location. My husband at the time paid the bills. You know, so it was more of a hobby / side hustle, which a lot of people, especially women, can start out in that realm. And certainly, you know, you want to build your skill set as you increase your prices, right? You need to justify that to some degree. But I think so much of the women out there, and men too, as you're starting new, you just don't know what you don't know. And that's why joining something like PPI or building community with people who know more than you can help you realize what you don't know that is hurting you.
Yeah.
And then you can realize that you don't have to be your own client. You don't have to afford yourself. So much of the time we look at like, oh, well, I wouldn't pay that, or I can't afford to pay that, or maybe I would pay it if I had it, but I don't have it. Well, just because you don't have it, you don't need to decide for somebody else if they can afford it.
Right.
And it's been hard for me too. I had to raise my prices eventually, partly out of necessity, because my husband shifted jobs and he started his own business as an entrepreneur, and that takes a few years to get to be, profitable.
Yeah.
And so I was so grateful that I had already been a part of this community where I was already learning skills about in-person sales and, having pre-consultations and having a higher level of experience and products that I could sell that really made it a viable business. And one of the key things is even just learning what your costs are for doing business.
Yeah.
How many people really know how to calculate that? All of those things go in hand. So I think you really spoke well to that because, it's a hard one to overcome that fear and judgment, right? Judgment of the clients that you're charging too much, and maybe judgment of other photographers at your kind of level of and friendship. If they see you charging more, then like, you think okay, if she thinks she's all, there could be people that feel that way. So those are things you have to manage up in there. It's not easy to do.
She did the.
I did the.
That's great.
All right. So one of the things I wanted to talk about is, real briefly, how do you know that you are self-sabotaging like that book says, that you are, you have the little red flags that maybe I have a fear of success? What do you think that looks like?
It's different things for everybody, honestly. It could be excluding yourself from the groups, not joining a professional organization because you don't think you're good enough. Just being...
Yeah.
I can't get over Bob.
Yes! That's a huge problem.
Yeah, it is.
I talk to people all the time that...
Yeah. Bob is saying yes with 2 thumbs up.
And all the arms up.
Yes.
Everything up. But no, I think that's a huge thing because it's all self-sabotage. If you are constantly telling yourself, I'm not at that level, or I'm not good enough, I don't deserve to be a part of this, that's going to be a massive part of it. And then also it's just not valuing your time, and that's another way to self-sabotage because eventually you're going to lead to burnout. Or
oh yes, there's a lot of that.
And then
understandable, but it doesn't need to be that way. That's what pricing yourself viably is about, right? Is so you don't burn out, so you have time with your family, so you have time to be creative and do fun stuff.
Yes, yeah, for sure. I know. I know. I never got to shoot for myself in England because I was working for clients every single day, and we came back here, and I finally had the time and to do a shoot that I had in my head, and we went out and we did it, and it got published. So it was
sweet.
But I'd never gave myself that time before because I was constantly self-sabotaging, thinking that I had to be on 24/7, constantly be working, and I can't take time for myself.
Right.
So anyway.
Yeah, I think sometimes we like to put the blame maybe on things outside of ourselves rather than taking full ownership for your life and saying, I want to improve and I'm going to do it even if I am going to look stupid doing it, or I have people that might look at me a way I don't want them to, or whatever it is. So sometimes we play small because we don't want that, but also we try to, we'll blame something else,
Yep.
Sometimes I hear photographers a lot blame, well, the market's not good, or well, in my town, there's too many photographers, or well, in my town, people won't, there's always something that we can say outside of ourselves, and we will believe what we say. I believe our brains always want to prove ourselves right. So if you hear yourself saying out loud or in your head a statement like that, then your brain will find evidence for it, 100%. It will find validation for why that's true. So if that's the way you want to lead your life, then that's where you're going to go.
It'll make it come true too. If you put those negative thoughts out there, then the universe is going to be like, okay, that's right. If you want to suck, if you want to not book clients, then let's make it happen. But so you really have to work on self-talk too, and positive talk, and being positive to yourself, and I totally lost the word I was going to say.
Which means you have to be okay saying positive things. to yourself.
And showing yourself grace. That's what I was going to say.
Laquita just
Yes.
said, it's true. I self-sabotage a lot. I'm a PPI member, but I feel like I don't fit in with you all.
Oh, see, Laquita, you
That's
do.
not true.
And I know that a lot of people can appreciate what you're saying.
I think she means from the skill point level.
Yeah,
maybe?
oh yeah, I understand what you're saying, but the thing is, hopefully, and we're not perfect at it, all of us have our own quirks and challenges when we interact with each other, so not everybody's perfect at it, but the culture that we're trying at least to develop within our PPI community is recognizing that we're all students of photography. All of us are learning. Even the most decorated photographers in our group are always learning, and they're always entering image competition to try to continue to, they order critiques themselves. Judges are still learning from other judges. And there's no point of entry. In case you don't know, if anybody's watching this and you don't know, Professional Photographers of Idaho as a title is not saying that you yourself have to be at a professional level to some benchmark in order to join our community. That is not what that is indicating, and it can feel intimidating.
Yeah.
And a lot of people aren't aware that if you love photography, if you are wanting to learn more, if you're willing to overcome your fear and judgment and come join and to learn, that's what it's all about. What we want to do is show with that title is that we are offering professional level of education and environment and skills that you can get in this community. That's what the professional is for. So thank you for bringing that up, Laquita, and anyone else. I really hope that they recognize that the only way, again, going back, if you go back to that slide, failure is not the opposite of success. It's a part of success, okay? So just because you're on the learning curve and you're more in the starting out point of it, you should expect to have more failures. That's nature. That's part of learning any skill. If I were to take up a paintbrush and I never had experience with the painting, my first few paintings are probably going to have the most craziness going on until I learn the skills to create a more successful painting. That's just normal. But going back to my original fear of joining PPI, I was afraid that I was going to not be myself anymore. I know this sounds really weird, but I kind of liked the little cocoon that I created. This is my little safe zone.
It's very comfortable.
This is very comfortable. I get to make whatever I want. My family thinks I'm amazing. The few clients that I have like my work, so why don't I just stay there, right? It's pretty comfortable. But then I realized what I was worried is if I were to go to a community where they were teaching me something that challenged the way I was doing it, and then I now was seeing that there's another way to do it, that I was going to somehow lose my style, my vision, the way I created stuff. That I had to have my images look like what I saw at image competition. Like maybe there were a lot of darker images and a lot of genres that weren't mine, and I was like, I want to stick with what's true to me. But this is what I learned, is learning the tools of photography is just that. They're just tools.
Right.
And if I can master tools, just like back in the day when people were learning oil painting from the masters, they would actually sit out on the lawn, have their canvases up, you would paint, you're the master, you would paint, and I would watch you, and I would try to copy you, I'd try to learn the tools, whatever. That's part of learning, right? And so maybe there's a little bit of mirroring to start with. But once I learn the techniques and the tools, then I can do whatever I want, and I can create stuff that's going to be impactful, that is going to be like a vision that I might have that now it can translate to something that is actually what was in my head because I have the tools to do it. So for me, that's a lot of what PPI gave me. So I just can't speak enough for that. Along with entering image competition, I always have to plug that in there because that's a really big part of learning how to see light, learning how to see an image, how to read an image. Like I would see amazing work and I'd be like, oh, I totally want to make that. But then I'd be like, but how? Like I already have the camera, but how do they get the end result to look like that? So that's part of the entering and getting critiques and learning how to see stuff like color harmony and balance, and anyway, there's a lot of things that go into what they do to routine. So anyway, closing thoughts. What else do you want to leave people with, or any other questions that are out there? So we've talked about a lot of stuff under Fear and Judgment.
Well, so for me, PPI, my biggest fear about joining PPI is when I used to do my conventions in London, I was at SWPP, and I would go every single year, and it was easy to blend in because there were hundreds upon hundreds of photographers, all skill levels. And then you come to PPI, and Idaho's a little bit smaller than London. I don't know if you guys knew that, but it's a lot smaller network. But it was intimidating for me kind of walking into PPI because these are big dogs. I mean, there are some of the best photographers in the entire state, in the entire region, in this. And for me, I felt like I did have the imposter syndrome. I didn't feel like I belonged because I didn't have the merits. I didn't have the awards. I didn't enter print competitions. But it also inspired me when I went to go see and be like, I can do that. I want to do that. I want to be, with these people. So if you're nervous about joining, or you don't think you're professional enough, you don't think you're good enough, throw it to the wind and come down here, because these are the most welcoming people that I've met ever. So, and it really is community over competition. It really is kind of like a little family. So it's fun.
Heather says, hi, sister.
Oh, hi.
Is that literally your sister?
Yeah, literally my sister. Yeah.
We love Carly.
Heather Moon says, hi, sister. And Laquita says, who wants to let me shadow them?
Yeah, mentoring is definitely a part of what PPI is all about. Let's talk. Laquita, can you come to lunch? Hopefully, in case you didn't know, we're meeting at Idaho Pizza Company in
Good
Meridian.
job.
I said it right. 1 o'clock today. And we'd love as many people that can make it out there to join us then, or fall retreat, any of those upcoming events. I think one of the great things about joining PPI is, some photographers really want mentorship, just like you said, Laquita, and it can be really awkward to approach another professional photographer and say, I want to learn from you, without being willing to have it be a mutual win-win. It feels a little bit self-serving, and so we hesitate to do that. But in an environment like PPI, where everyone is there for learning, we're all contributing with our dues and also contributing to feed each other. Mm-hmm. It's the perfect environment. That's where it is socially acceptable, because you're in the system of learning.
Yeah.
Same with being part of PPA.
Laquita's at work till 3 today.
Okay.
And Heather says, we love her more.
Well, you know her longer, so I'll give you that. Give us time. Give us time.
That's great.
Well, let's wrap it up. I'm so grateful to be here today and to be here with Carly. I really learned a lot from you. Thanks for sharing your story.
Don't forget to like and subscribe.
Yes. Do it right now, because we're on YouTube. And when we're normally on Facebook, you get a little reminder. You're not going to get a reminder unless you subscribe and put that on there. So ring the bell, subscribe. Also, I think we said everything. Lunch at 1. Fall retreat, register today if you haven't already. It's going to be amazing. Yep. And we want to share what we have to offer. We got 9 instructors. It's going to be amazing. Peace out.
Bye, guys.
And if you like this, you can follow me. So let's go. Follow me. And let's go.